there are still about 18 million people that are getting some form of assistance, and that means that they cannot live without government support today, at least the vast majority of them. Just think about all the people that are on food stamps and so on. That goes even beyond this. So it just shows you that the economy is still extremely weak despite what they tell you in one hand. So you have to look at the right points to see the truth. JP Morgan seeks to reduce office space in 2 Manhattan towers. They claim that they are still totally in love with New York. They're not giving up on it, but they want to, of course, reduce the amount of office space. They're not the only one. We've seen this all over the place, and the trend is continuing. So I'm showing you these different companies, big companies that are leaving. So what does that do for all that space that's there? I think it's a serious problem that is not being covered enough, and I'm going to continue to cover it because I think that you need to know this. I need to know this, so I want to repeat it to myself to give myself that constant reminder of what's going to happen with retail, what's going to happen with office. I think it's a huge problem in a lot of these major cities. But let's be honest, you can print a whole bunch of money and it has no impact whatsoever. And you can tell because we're at $28 trillion of national debt. The US is seeing a $28 trillion debt pile. And you can I'm shocked by that. And you look at it where it was a year ago, look at where it was 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and you see how fast they've accumulated debt. But still, everything seems to stand. And why? Because the whole world is flooded with debt. And that right there tells you that the value of the currencies all around the world have been devalued by the central banks, by the governments in different ways. And you have to know about real assets. That's what it comes down to. Real assets are the only way to do it. If you're making fiat, you own a business, you're making a lot of money or a little bit of money, I think it's very wise to look at where to park that money. If you have any savings and you keep it under your mattress, probably not the best idea. Keep it in an account that has negative interest rates in some places, probably not a good idea. There are places that are safe and sound, as safe as they can be, and maybe ones that will provide you with some passive income as well. So that's just something I wanted to mention. Disney shuttering at least 20% of Disney stores as it shifts focus to e-commerce. This is yet another business that's closing stores. So think about all those malls not looking good. These might be the very best of malls, and now you got even more empty space. This is coming. The amount that they have calculated out, I think it's like last year was something like 9,000 stores. I don't think it's anywhere near the number where it should have been, simply because, they're temporarily closed. No, not at all. The numbers are going to be completely out of whack, but we know how many are out there. You can just see it. You go around and, all of these different places for lease. Nobody's going to lease them. Here's another one. Sinclair to lay off hundreds of employees, citing profound impact of 2020 had on its business. Yet another one that just simply getting rid of people, closing up where they can. You're seeing this in so many different industries. It's not just retail. It's not just media companies. It's all over. Interesting note here. A precious metal that costs 15 times more than gold is driving a surge in thefts of catalytic converters. They mention right down here, rhodium, a silvery white chemical element that is a byproduct of the production of platinum and palladium and is unparalleled in its ability to remove the most toxic pollutants from vehicle exhaust. And they're basically finding that so many people are actually taking the catalytic converters off of these cars, and they just give you an explanation here what's actually happening. But I'm just focusing on the fact that for different reasons, we are seeing a spike in prices of different things. In this case here, there's more than one reason, of course, not just because of all the theft in the vehicles, but the price is showing us that there is serious demand for certain things. There's a supply chain problems and other things. Look at the price of lumber. If anybody knows anybody that's building a home or anything right now, they have been told, get ready to pay a lot more because of all the materials involved and how expensive they've become. really important here, China Credit Impulse, how much money that they're putting out there, whether it's coming from loans, whether it's coming from their QE, you got to factor that all in. This is just showing you the credit impulse. And it tends to be that when this starts to decline, that there's a slowdown that takes place not just in China, but in the rest of the world. Look at their stock market, specifically the tech side, just like the NASDAQ equivalent. And you can see it's come down. I think it was 15% from its highs. That's just showing you what we can see, that there was this high, this sugar high, and maybe somewhat it has come down from that. This is giving you a list of 20 active SPACs trading at the largest premiums to their IPO price. Going through a list right here, you could see Bill Ackman's is on here, and there's many more that maybe you recognize or not, but hey, Shaq's got a SPAC, and if anybody else has one, I mean, why not? Why can't anybody have them? I mean, these days, I should start one. Why not, right? It's just free money, you just call it just another SPAC. There was one called, and it did very well. So, why not? Average number of calendar days from IPO to deal announcement. And this gives you an idea of how quick these things have been moving. Average number of calendar days from IPO to deal announcement. You're looking at from 2010 to 2019, 487. Now 2021, 175. It's all about getting things to happen very quickly, get the money, and then figure out, is this even a good thing? Nobody even knows. It just has the word SPAC, they buy it, and that's up. SPAC acquisitions and IPOs by sector. You could see top of the list, information technology, clearly 2021, 44%. And you go down, consumer discretionary, healthcare, and so on. There's a breakdown. I don't need to just harp on all of this. I know that chances are this video is going to be split in two. It's too massive. But I want to give you as much detail as possible. SPAC capital seeking target and SPAC IPO capital associated with mergers in each quarter, and that has accelerated beyond anything that we have ever seen in history. And also to note that the value growth ratio has been changing since towards the, let's say, fourth quarter of 2020. I've been talking about that, how the portfolios have been readjusting. It's still a long way off to go back to where it was before the financial crisis timeframe. To give you some insight as to what's going on in these big cities, this happens to be Toronto. This was sent to me by a subscriber, but look at this. Dilapidated garage hits the Toronto housing market for $729,000. This piece of garbage, okay, $729,000. Now, it's not because of the building. They're going to use the land and they'll build a house in there. But it's a narrow land, and who knows what the neighbors are like, okay? But this area here is just something that it's unbelievable. I mean, it's unbelievable. You get a square, you get a patch of land, and you got to pay $729,000. Probably, who knows, but you're going to be paying at least $800,000 on top of this to get a structure actually built. Chances are, the new homes. And with all the construction costs, it's very possible they will go actually above that into the $1 million range if it's something quite nice. This is ridiculous. This is, it's unimaginable. I got no words for it anymore. But you talk to the real estate agents, you talk to those in the industry, they say in my career, which of course doesn't go back very far, the prices go up always. Just like the stock market, they always go up higher. Quick note about this, core PCE inflation could peak at 2.5% in a pent-up demand scenario, but would likely pull back by mid-2021. That's right. Well, this is what they've talked about, and that Jerome Powell has said specifically that inflation could actually overshoot by quite a bit, but it's temporary because of all the stimulus, because of that pent-up demand that people have had, which I think I have a chart in just a second. But essentially, they're just, a lot of pent-up demand, and as a result, it's going to be, people getting out there, but that will calm down. We'll see what happens, but I just think it's funny because the core PCE inflation rate is so off from, actual reality. This is a pent-up demand could boost consumption of travel and recreation above pre-crisis levels after the restrictions end. That is absolutely possible, but I just think it's funny to see how many millions and millions of people are so hurt right now. Many of them who hadn't even recovered from 2008, and here they are today dealing with this. Anyway, why the biggest US ESG fund has no direct renewable holdings? More garbage that we see here. This ESG, oh, it's environmentally friendly. Our company's going to invest in these environmentally friendly companies and so on. A lot of these places, these different funds, they invest in what? The big tech stocks, Apple, Amazon, and so on. And what do these companies do if they're not environmentally friendly? Oh, they buy the carbon credits. That's what this is all about. I mean, it's a joke. And you look at them, some of them are, oil companies. John Deere, I think, was on there. You're seeing this, that it has no basis in reality, but they just sell it to people. And that's what they do. They buy it. People love a good story. Tesla stock tumbles 25% in a month. And they say it's because of the competition. However, you can see that there is much more to it than that. Hey, any stock that goes up in a straight line certainly can correct. And it's not just because of Tesla or anything else. This is what happens along the way. Now, the bull market can continue, not just in a particular stock, but in a sector and so on. But we generally find that what goes up really fast can absolutely fall down really fast too. So we'll keep a close eye on this stock and others and see what happens over time. Keeping an eye very closely, simply because what we can learn from one will ultimately impact the others. That's all for this video. If you found it informative, hit that thumbs up button. When you do, you're supporting me. I want to thank you for that. If you want to learn about e-commerce, you can do so for free at the AmazonGPS.com. If you want to get some information about the financial system, how it all works, central banks, and so on, all of that is detailed in my 2 books. You can check out the link in the description. And if you haven't seen this video yet, you've got to check it out. Click it, and I'll see you there.